Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video. This week it's going to be for Bellator 293. I'm going to be breaking down the main card for you guys here. And this is a long fight card. They got 15 fights here. A couple fights fell out. There was actually 17 fights at one point on this card. But only going to be doing the 5-fight main card. So if you want access to all my predictions for the other 10 fights on this card and also 8 bets that I do have on this card, I have a couple pretty big underdog bets on the prelims. So definitely think you should get access to those. There's going to be PFL coverage over there. There's going to be potentially some Ryzen coverage, some CFFC coverage, and obviously we're going to get ready for that UFC next weekend, UFC 287. So patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru is the place to be. I'm in the top 10 in the world right now for MMA cappers on betmma.tips, tracked for units profit, and I'm one of the best bettors in the world over there, best bettors in the world for MMA. So definitely getting a great deal over there. If you pay $10, $25 to get access to these bets, then you're likely going to be making some money and having fun, profiting on some bets here, watching some fights, man. So we're going to get into this first fight of the night here with Sullivan, Cauley, and Luke Trainer, though. And this is a fight where it's two Bellator prospects going at each other. Most of the time, Bellator doesn't like to do these type of fights, but it's good that they're doing these matchups early on in both these guys' careers because Trainer, he already has a loss, so maybe Bellator feels like they can kind of test him a little bit more and see exactly where he's at, if he's going to be able to bounce back and get a win over another prospect here. Sullivan Cauley, he's undefeated, and he's the fighter that's the favorite in this spot. But Luke Trainer, super tall, athletic fighter. He stands 6'6", good speed. He's powerful. His takedown defense is questionable, and that could be his demise in this fight, but you could tell he's worked a lot on that. His scrambling ability is better than it used to be. He did recently lose a fight to Simone Bion where he was taken down. His takedown defense is going to need to be put to the test and improved against Sullivan Cauley. On the feet, Trainer is fast. He feints well. He'll throw some nice straight punches, front kicks. He'll mix it up. He will try to wrestle. Good job getting fighters to the ground with doubles. His back takes are solid. With his height, he can get into that back mount, and he's really hard to get out from under from there. He'll flatten guys out. He'll go for ground and pound. He'll work rear naked chokes, and that's definitely his most dangerous position. He's finished 3 fights via rear naked choke, 2 fights via ground and pound. He hasn't won a decision as a pro, but he has shown good cardio going into long fights as an amateur, so I think his cardio is a strong suit for him. And Cauley is an athletic wrestler. Sullivan Cauley, his opponent. Cauley on the feet, he's fluid, he hits hard, and all 5 of Cauley's pro wins are first round finishes. This is a step up in competition for Cauley here, as so far in his career, he's faced mostly setup fights, and this is a real opponent. I would say Trainer has been tested a little bit more thus far. And Cauley recently has fell in love more with his hands in recent fights. I think he needs to rely on his wrestling in this matchup. But he has a nice jab. He has a good check hook, good 1-2s, 3-2s. And his hands are fast, and he changes the target, so he'll rip the body as well. He landed a nasty knee in the clinch against Tyson Jeffries, which ended their fight. So he's dangerous in the clinch area as well. And he is going to be at a reach and height disadvantage in this fight, so he's going to have to deal with how to get inside on the feet. But he has a good double leg, and when he gets on top, he has solid top control, stays very heavy, good ground and pounds. And he has been put against the cage. I did see him get taken down against Dion Clash, but no one has been able to keep Cauley on his back. He's been able to scramble back up very quickly whenever he's been taken down. Cardio is definitely a question mark with Cauley. If he can't get his opponent out of there in the first round, could become iffy. He hasn't been out of the first round since 2019. As an amateur, he was 1-2 in decisions. He only had 1 split decision win. And personally, I feel like the line should be closer in this fight. It's a step up for Cauley. If he can't get Trainer out of there early, like I just said, Trainer could maybe start to have success down the stretch. On the feet, I definitely think it should be competitive, and both fighters are decent wrestlers. Cauley's a superior wrestler on paper. If he could take Trainer down, land some ground and pound, his power is proven to be too much at this point. But I'm going to pick Cauley to win his first decision in this fight. Personally, I'm not that confident in this pick. It's definitely a dog or pass spot if you ask me. I think that Trainer has passed to victory. But Cauley, I just think his wrestling is going to be a little bit too overpowering. And whenever he needs a rest or he's struggling a little bit, he can go to the wrestling, get some top control, and win the fight that way. So going to go with Sullivan Cauley here to pick up a decision win. And moving it along here to the second fight of the main card, we got another prospect versus prospect matchup with 2 undefeated fighters matching off. two guys that have already had victories in Bellator. So this is another cool matchup here with Archie, Cogan, and Justin Montalvo. Justin Montalvo, he's a striker. He's flat-footed, but he brings that forward pressure, rips the body early and often. He can manipulate and control distance fairly effectively, and he's aggressive. He does a good job of feinting, trying to find openings, look for opportunities to pull counter, slide in and out of his opponent's shots. He's an okay jab. But overall, to me, he isn't really an elite striker. Primarily a boxer, doesn't really mix it up. He hangs his chin high. He, I believe, is a guy that is tough, but an educated striker will be able to knock him out or hurt him. We've seen him get knocked out as an amateur. But Montalvo is a guy that's going to rip the body. He's going to come forward, try to break you with this pressure. He has a lot of volume. He doesn't really have one-shot power, so he has to rely on that volume, but he can break guys down. And he's a good defensive grappler. He trains with that Sarah Longo fight team, and he has good get-ups when he gets taken down. His scrambling ability, his sweeps are solid, but his wrestling is below average. It seems like he can be taken down very easily. Cardio is a weapon for him as he brings up pressure and he doesn't slow down. So fighters that do come in with a game plan to take him down and they can't hold him down can get tired, and Montalvo can take over the fight and finish it. Kind of similar how we saw him fight Jacob Bone in his Bellator debut. But I still think that Montalvo is a very green fighter overall. And Archie Colgan, he's a former D1 wrestler, explosive powerhouse. He has a boxer wrestler style on the feet. He likes to be all the way in or all the way out. Good lateral footwork, and he closes the distance quickly. He has a lot of power in his hands, great timing on his left hook, on his right hand, nice jab. His speed is going to be a big advantage for him in this fight, I feel like, and he also throws tighter, straighter punches while Montalvo loops a lot of shots. But I do feel like Montalvo, if it gets into like a pocket brawl or is a little bit more of a wild fight, he'll be a little bit more comfortable on the feet. Colgan, his defense is on point though. He's always good at feigning, keeping fighters honest with the level changes. And he can wrestle as well. On top, he isn't that dangerous, but he has good doubles. He has good takedowns against the cage, and he can control you. Cardio is not proven to be an issue for Colgan, and he looks like he's a pretty high-level prospect. And I find this a pretty difficult fight for Montalvo style-wise. Montalvo's the inferior wrestler, and even if he could scramble back to his feet, I don't see Colgan getting tired. In the stand-up, if Montalvo gets too over-aggressive, I think he's going to get knocked out potentially. Just isn't a dynamic enough striker, in my opinion, to land a shot that can end or change the tide of a fight unless he just lands a perfect punch. Colgan could get a KO or decision depending how aggressive Montalvo fights, but I think a Montalvo win is pretty unlikely. We've already seen Colgan beat a fellow teammate of Montalvo's in Dylan Mantello, who I feel is a superior fighter to Montalvo. Colgan, he trains out there with Justin Gaethje, Drew Dober, Rafa Garcia, and those guys in Colorado, so you know he's going to be tough. He's going to have a gas tank. And that's usually an advantage that Montalvo holds over opponents, being able to outlast them. But I don't think he's going to have that against Colgan. So personally, as an official pick, I'm going to pick Colgan via first-round knockout. And in this next fight, we got John Salter, who's been one of the best middleweight fighters in Bellator for almost a decade. He's taking on Aaron Jeffrey, who's a new guy in the mix, looking to make a name for himself off of Salter. And Salter, he's joined the Bellator company in 2015. He's gone 8-3 in 11 Bellator fights. He started his Bellator career 5-0. He ended up losing his first Bellator fight to Rafael Lovato Jr. in 2018. Lovato Jr. went on to beat Gegard Mousasi, become the Bellator middleweight champion. Salter then won 3 more fights in a row, got himself in line for a Bellator title shot. He got to fight against Gegard Mousasi, one of the best mixed martial artists of all time. Mousasi dominated, finished Salter in the 3rd round, unfortunately for him, so didn't get to claim that Bellator gold. And he returned 6 months later, fought Johnny Eblen, who since their fight went on to beat Gegard Mousasi, claimed the middleweight title. And he hasn't fought since then, so it's been almost a year since the last time he's fought when he steps in the cage on Friday. But as you can see, though, Salter's 3 losses have came against the last 3 champions for Bellator and 3 of the top 5 arguably middleweights in the world. I think Johnny Eblen has claimed to be potentially arguably the number 1 middleweight in the world. And Salter has beaten pretty much everyone else in Bellator who isn't champ level. He's beaten some good guys, too. He beat Dustin Jacoby. He beat Chidi Njokuani. He beat Costello Van Steenis. He beat Kendall Grove, Andrew Capel. And for Aaron Jeffrey, he's 2-0 in Bellator. And if he can beat a fighter like John Salter, he's going to be very close to a title fight. His last fight, he was able to go in there and knock out Austin Vanderford, who's another former Bellator title challenger. So this would be back-to-back title challengers that he's knocked off. And it's good to see Aaron Jeffrey in a major promotion settling in Bellator because he had 2 chances on the Contender Series. He got to face off against 2 beasts, though. Kyle Barallo and Brendan Allen lost both fights. So it made it tough for him to be able to have a shot with the UFC. And now it's good that he found his niche over there in Bellator. And he's a tough fighter, Aaron Jeffrey. He's a big man for the weight class. He's durable. He's well-conditioned. He's a pressure fighter, solid guard, and he doesn't move his head well, but Jeffrey has a great chin and can just walk through punches. He gets clipped often, so I think eventually he will get put down, but as of now, he's shown elite durability. He hasn't really shown huge punching power until his last fight. His last fight, he rocked Vanderford with basically every punch he threw. He landed some tight hooks and knocked him out. And I don't know if that had to do with Vanderford being chinny or Jeffrey hitting heavy, but I do feel if Jeffrey connects, he has some power now. And in most of Jeffrey's fights, he tends to pressure his way into the clinch, push fighters against the cage. And Jeffrey has a great clinch game. Jeffrey will drain fighters with short punches, elbows, knees. Jeffrey doesn't really have experience against this type of opponent, John Salter, but Jeffrey has struggled before with fighters that can walk him into strikes, use their footwork, stick and move, and Salter is pretty good at that. We saw Kyle Barallo have success pulling Aaron Jeffrey into strikes, and I don't think very many people are going to be able to run over a tenacious guy like Aaron Jeffrey, so it's going to be smart to stick and move on him, not get into a brawl, not engage where he likes to engage, and fight smart. And Aaron Jeffrey has fought a lot of wrestlers and grapplers, and he's going to be seeing another one here in John Salter. He's improved and has gotten good with his takedown defense, but he does tend to get taken down early in fights. He doesn't accept his getting put on his back, though. He has good get-ups. He does tend to sometimes give his back to stand up, which hasn't been an issue for him yet, but against John Salter, that could be, something that proves fatal in the fight. And he makes fighters work to hold him down, so that's where he starts to get his clinch game going, and his cardio will start to take over the fight, and he can wear down wrestlers and grapplers. And we have seen Salter slow down in the past, being 38 years old as well. That's definitely a cause for concern. And we've only seen Jeffrey really get dominated and finish in one fight that happened against Brendan Allen, where he got clipped with the knee to the chin, got his back taken, got choked out. So he does have one rear naked choke loss, which is what John Salter is going to be looking to do, but it did come after getting rocked. And Jeffrey, at that point, he looked smaller. He didn't look as good back then. And at 30 years old, Jeffrey should be close to his prime. But John Salter, you can't overlook this guy. He's a crafty veteran. He's probably looking to try to go on one last title run here. And he's a black belt, solid wrestling, great submission skills. On the feet, he stands southpaw. He's mobile. He makes fighters come to him and then look to time the single leg. He can chain wrestle. When he gets in on the single, he's good at ending up on top. He'll throw nice overhands, good low kicks, body kicks. He feints well. So he's a seasoned guy. And he struggles against fighters who can stuff his takedowns and force him to strike. He got beat up against Johnny Eblen. We saw him get TKO'd against Tigard Mousasi. But when John Salter gets on top, he's a beast. He has great cardio, wrestling, grappling cardio. So he isn't worried about losing position or ending up on his back. But he does tend to get tired if you can make it more of a standing fight. But if he can have his type of fight, he has great cardio. And he'll look to get into the mount, stay heavy, work ground and pound until fighters give their back. And that's how he's gotten a majority of his wins or rear naked choke, submission wins. He even started really well against Tigard Mousasi. He was able to get the takedown, get the back, but he ended up struggling to get the takedowns in the second and third, slowed down and got finished after getting his takedown stuffed. And but personally, man, I mean, looking at this fight, I feel like Aaron Jeffrey struggles with a lot of things that John Salter likes to do in terms of the footwork, the movement, pulling guys into punches. I think Salter could be effective with his striking if he just keeps the pace and doesn't slow his feet work. If it starts to become more of a war of attrition, I think the youth could potentially pay dividends for Jeffrey and he could win that type of battle. But if Salter can finesse him and use that footwork movement, time some takedowns, get to the back and actually control Aaron Jeffrey, then I think he could have a lot of success. So you've seen Jeffrey go in there and be losing to guys like Andre Petrosky before coming back to win and things like that. And I think that Salter is a lot better than a guy like Petrosky. He's just similar style. They're both southpaws. Maybe Petrosky has more of that athleticism, explosiveness, but Salter is just more polished, skilled. He's smarter, more composed, has more experience, and I personally feel like John Salter, if he comes in here and looks good, can get the win in this one. You look at his losses, I mean, like I said, Johnny Eblen, you could argue he's the best middleweight in the world. Gegard Mousasi's in the top 5. Aaron Jeffrey, I don't think he's fought someone on John Salter's level yet. And I think John Salter is going to come in here and kind of, we got Roy Jones fighting this weekend for George Masvidal. How about that? That's crazy. But I think John Salter is going to hit you guys with the y'all must have forgot, and yeah, man, he's going to show that he's still maybe never going to be a Bellator champion, but he's one of the best Bellator middleweights that's fought in the company, and he's going to turn back one of these young guns. So I'm going to go with John Salter here. I'm going to say he gets a first-round rear naked choke victory. And up next here, we got Kat Zingano. She's making her comeback. Not really a comeback, but return to the cage. She's fought for Bellator quite a few times, taking on Leah McCourt. And this is a fight I feel could go either way, depending on which Kat Zingano shows up. Kat Zingano, 40 years old. She's had good performances, bad performances throughout her career, and we've kind of seen the ups and downs from her. So I feel like the line is way off. But she's a veteran who has up and down performances, like I said. And when she shows up, she's a beast. I mean, she can look really good. She's beaten Amanda Nunes. She's beaten Miesha Tate. She has looked good in her last fight against Pam Sorensen. But then you look at her fight with Gabby Holloway or fight with Juliana Pena, and it's like her wrestling regressed so much in those fights, and it's like, what happened? And then it comes back and it goes away. So I don't know if it's a training thing or what it is with her, but she can look excellent in certain fights and she can look horrible in others. But most of the time she does show up, obviously, 13-4 pro record. Leah McCourt, she's a fighter who is an amateur IMAF champion and 6-1 in Bellator, so she has some good credentials. And she's been hovering around the title picture for a while now. She got a win over Diana Silva in her last fight, which was kind of a fight that got her into this number one contender type spot where I feel like she is in now, where the winner of this fight is probably going to be fighting for the title. This division is in a weird spot, though, because I believe that Chris Cyborg on paper is still the champ for Bellator, but I don't think she's signed to them currently. I think she still has to negotiate and work out if she's going to stick around with their organization. She's been doing a lot of boxing and stuff, so I don't really know. I mean, I don't know if Chris is going to come back and fight the winner of this fight or what they're going to do, but the winner of this fight probably is going to be getting a title shot next, I would think. And when you think about it style-wise, Kat Zingano's wrestling is what should win her this fight. She has fast level changes, good singles, good doubles. Her last fight, her timing was really good, and she was feigning well. She was setting up the takedowns. She got some big slams. She can get explosive takedowns, and she's a strong girl. But I would look to avoid the clinch in this fight if I was Zingano. Zingano makes mistakes, and McCourt with her judo skills could potentially pose issues and make Zingano even get ended up on her back. Zingano needs to worry more about that freestyle wrestling, shooting on the legs. And when she gets on top, Zingano's more of a bruiser. She'll stick in the full guard, land big elbows, punches. And if fighters will, then she'll start to advance position and outwork them, out-cardio them, and finish them. And with her elevation training, she always tends to come in with good cardio. And Leah McCourt, with her upright stance, does allow fighters to get on her hips. And I've seen her pressured and held against the cage in more than one fight. So McCourt is going to have to try to stay active when she gets taken down, because I do think she'll get taken down at some points in this fight. But, I could see her being squished with Zingano being a really big, heavy, aggressive wrestler. And Zingano needs to be smart, look for the up kicks of McCourt. McCourt has dropped 2 fighters with up kicks in Bellator competition, but I think if she gets cement position, she's going to be able to do pretty well from that top position. And Leah McCourt, she used her judo to win most fights, but in this fight, I think she's going to try to show off her striking a little bit more. She has the superior boxing, I believe, and her hands have improved. She's gotten a little bit better with her timing on her counters, and she can land some 3-2s and 1-2s, and she has pretty fast hands overall. She'll throw some kicks as well, but I feel like McCourt, her striking defense isn't good. She's not really someone that's explosive, and I feel like Zingano is going to easily be able to kind of navigate and get inside. And it's going to be a battle if McCourt can get into the clinch where she can kind of defend some takedowns or reverse some takedowns, get on top herself, then I think she can give Zingano some issues on top. But if she ends up on her back, I just don't really see her giving her that much of an issue. And I think that even if she gets on top, we have seen her have some issues with Kimuras. I think Kat could potentially use a Kimura to sweep and get on top. And if Zingano comes in here and has a bad performance, then maybe McCourt can win. But I think Zingano's going to do exactly what she did in her last fight. Stay composed, move around, kick, feint. When she sees the opportunity to level change, take that, duck under, hit the takedown, and if she can get on top, just beat up McCourt from the full guard, control her. Cardio and size on the size of Kat. Kat hasn't fought many in-prime fighters recently, though, so it's a pass for me from a betting perspective. Easily a dog or pass, but I think if Zingano shows up, she wins easily, so it's hard for me to kind of justify a bet on McCourt. So I'm going to go with Kat Zingano via decision. And finally, we got the main event here. I kind of feel like the co-main event, Zingano against McCourt, should be the main event, but I'm not sure why they chose these two guys to be the main event. They don't really have a lot of name value, I guess, because they're heavyweights. But we got Marcelo, Golm, Daniel James. Both of them are ranked in the Bellator heavyweight rankings, so it's a fairly important fight for their weight class. And Daniel James, he returned to Bellator after 7 years in his last fight. And he immediately made himself a player. He upset Tyrell Fortune. He was in the top 10. And now he has a chance to get in the title picture if he can beat Marcelo Golm. James has had an interesting career. He went pro at 33 years old. And who knows how far he thought he would have taken it at the time. But he became a trailblazer a little bit. He went and fought in Russia. He had a chance to fight for the LFA title in 2019. And now he's getting a chance to potentially capture a major title in Bellator in his later years, and he's a huge guy. He's 6'6". He has 82-inch reach. He's older and he's not as athletic as he used to be, but he's still pretty athletic for a heavyweight. He likes to pressure forward, work the jab, the lead hook, wait for his opportunities to counter with the big right hand. And when he hurts fighters, he's a killer. He hunts the finish, nice counter crosses, uppercuts, and with his length and with his pressure, he can land from very far out. I've seen him hit some pretty nice blitz attacks. If you look at his knockout over UFC veteran Rafael Pessoa, he lands really nasty Superman punches. He's running forward that takes out Pessoa. And Daniel James can be low volume, though, and dull if fighters don't really push the action. He needs the right dance partner to look impressive. His last loss was a decision loss in a very low volume fight, but he has 9 knockout wins. When he connects, he hurts you. And when he normally wins, he finishes. He is plotty, so fighters who can kick and keep him at distance will be an issue for him. But in this fight with such a reach advantage, I think it's going to be a little bit tough for Golden to implement that type of game plan. And James is a pretty good grappler. He likes to push fighters against the fence with double underhooks. With his height, he has good ability to control guys there. And he has a good sprawl. He uses it to circle to the back, work heavy punches. He was able to knock out Dennis Smolderov. And when he gets on top, he has really good ground and pound. He's finished several fights that way. His last fight, he survived a super deep rear naked choke, and he did get taken down, but not very many heavyweights are shooting as fast and technically as Tyrell Fortune. And cardio is a strong suit for James because he fights at a composed, slow pace. He broke Tyrell Fortune after escaping that choke in his last fight, ended up taking him out later in the fight. So you can kind of just see that James plays that long game in a lot of his fights. For Marcelo Golm, he's a 30-year-old Brazilian heavyweight, trained out of American Top Team. And he's a fairly recognizable name to hardcore fans because he had a 4-fight stint in the UFC. He made it to the UFC too early. He only went 1-3 in 4 UFC fights before he got cut. Since getting let go by the company, he's gone 4-0, finished all 4 wins. In his last fight, he submitted Davion Franklin, who's a freak athlete. And this is an even bigger test for him, though. Daniel James is big, powerful, well-rounded, well-conditioned. And Daniel James is going to be looking to pressure Golm, get him against the fence, get him tired, and then either win a decision or make Golm tired and catch him. And Marcelo Golm, he's still young. He's 30 years old, but he's experienced a lot. He's accrued UFC experience, and now he's had a couple fights in Bellator. He's learned how to fight to a game plan. And if he fights smart, uses his leg kicks, his speed and movement, he could probably do well on this fight. If Golm goes in there and tries to really fight James, hunt down the finish, he could put himself in trouble because James to me has the more dangerous weapons of the two fighters. But Golm's is faster. He has good lateral footwork, nice calf kicks, and that's what he should focus on in this fight. This fight to me is going to be the battle of Golm's leg kicks against Daniel James's jab. I think Golm's is going to be looking to mix in takedowns. He has done that in a lot of his recent fights, but with James, I don't think it's going to be easy to find those entries, and I don't think it's going to be easy to take him down. And Golm is going to have to set the takedowns up with the striking. On the feet, Golm has fast hands, nice pull counters, and I think he's going to be looking to kind of, land minimal punches, land kicks on the outside, and time some takedowns, use his speed. And he's only been finished one time. He's super tough. His last fight with Davion Franklin, he got slammed a few times in the first round, manhandled, but survived and ended up getting Franklin out of there in the third round. And Golm himself, has timed some double legs in his recent fights, gotten guys down against the cage. He has good ground and pound on top. He's aggressive. And off his back, he's even okay. He can negate damage, but he tends to just wait for the ref to stand him up and doesn't really have a good get-up game. His cardio has gotten a lot better, and he was able to finish an opponent in the third round in his last fight. But to be fair, Davion Franklin totally gassed, so it's kind of hard to rate Golm's cardio or kind of properly gauge it. Golm is 0-2 in decision, so he's yet to prove he can win minutes in a fight to take it on the scorecards. And I'm going to go with Daniel James in this fight. I think James has more powerful punches. He has better timing, and he has the big length advantage. His takedown defense is good, and I think he could potentially get Golm against the fence and control him in the clinch. And James, if he gets on top, I think he can get a knockout. If Golm gets on top, I don't think he's going to really be able to do too much to James. So I feel like I trust James more. I trust his cardio more. Golm is younger, could use his leg kicks, a couple takedowns to steal a lackluster decision. But I think James has the finishing upside. And I'm going to pick James to win this fight actually by decision, though. I'm going to say he goes in there and it's kind of a boring fight, but he's able to use some clinch control time, his long-range striking, and pick up the victory over Marcelo Golm here. So there you have it, guys. That's my 5-card breakdown for the 5 fights on this main card. And thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys learned something from this breakdown predictions video. Like I said at the top of the video, if you want access to all 15 predictions for this card, go to patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru. Already have the full card predicted over there. Have 8 bets as well. So you want to get access to those bets, then definitely check out patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru. I'm in the top 10 in the world for betting, so definitely is worth it. Go over there, make some money, watch some fights, have some fun. And besides that, guys, I'm going to be back talking about the UFC 287 card. I'm going to potentially do another video this week if I have time. So be on the lookout for the channel, and you could potentially see another video this week. But this video is going to be up soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bellator 293 is going to be this Friday. So make sure to check it out, and I'll talk to you guys later.